Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by and welcome to Visual BI's webinar. Today, we'll be talking about data analytics strategies and solutions for SAP customers, where we will offer strategies and solutions for some of the most common challenges faced by SAP BI and Analytics leaders, managers, and architects. During the presentation, all participants will be in listen-only mode. If you have a question during the presentation, please submit it via the Q&A portion of the screen. Simply type your question into the box and click the send button. Our presenter will address questions at the end of the presentation, time permitting. If you don't hear an answer to your question today, don't worry. We will deliver answers to you individually after the webinar. The webinar is being recorded and a link to the replay will be sent to you via email. Presenting today is Kapil Krishnamurthy, the CEO of Visual BI Solutions, a firm he founded in 2010 to transform the field of enterprise business intelligence and analytics. I will now turn the presentation over to Kapil.
Thank you, Mai. Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we have a very exciting strategic topic for a lot of our webinar audience to talk about a lot of the strategies and challenges that they are facing today in a rapidly changing landscape. Before I get started with the agenda, I just wanted to share our typical legal disclaimer, but I do wanted to share that although we have done the best of our efforts to put together a very valuable information for you from a strategy and roadmap perspective, a lot of these are SAP roadmaps, and SAP has a typical disclaimer that they could change them at any time. So I would advise you to exercise caution and use this material the way they are intended. Moving on to the agenda today, we have a very interesting webinar, but it has a lot of wide range of topics. What we have had in mind is to give you some of our very popular webinar content for the year, some of our EDW webinars, some of our BI strategy webinars, and try to bring some of the latest news from SAP TechEd recently from last month, so that you get a much consolidated picture to be able to plan better for 2019, or even how do you put together a strategy to wrap up 2018. That's the primary goal of the webinar. That said, I wanted to introduce the Visual BI and then give you a high-level overview of some of the typical challenges and dilemmas that are faced by customers today, how the EDW has evolved from BW to S4 and even then to the cloud. We will talk about the comparison of the futuristic B4 and S4 solution in terms of EDW and how the shift to cloud is going to impact it. And then on the right, we have more on the front end side of it, like your business objects tool sets, the analytics cloud, then what is the future of SAP Lumira, and then the most common question is a very summarized version of our self-service BI comparison to give you an holistic picture. Our intention is that this whole webinar and the presentation would be very useful for you to plan better. I wanted to start it off by introducing Visual BI, and very proud to say that we have established our credentials as a market leader in the space of BI and analytics, and we are rapidly establishing from our market leadership in the SAP BI space into the Microsoft world with gold partnership with Microsoft. A lot of very marquee customers continue to come to Visual BI with a lot of strategic challenges around their EDW, their BI tools. But most importantly, our products, which I will be talking about it at the end of the webinar, has been a big value add in terms of driving innovation to overcome some of their typical challenges with visualizations or their managing multiple BI platforms in VBI view. And customers have been relying heavily on our training offerings in business objects or analytics cloud or Power BI to continue to push their team to evolve to the next generation BI and analytics. One of the things that we as a company, Visual BI, is very proud of our rate of customer acquisition. We continue to add 3 to 4 customers every month, and our customer list is growing well past 125 to 150 very rapidly. And it is a testament to the niche offering that we do in the BI and analytics space. And because of our niche and thought leadership, we are able to come up with a lot of very good thought leadership blogs. And now, we have gotten into a good frequency of doing webinar. And I wanted to say this is a kind of a summarized version of some of our very good content that I'm very excited to share in form of a strategy. Let's move on to the actual webinar we have on hand today. What are some of the typical BI challenges or typical challenges faced at the customers? So you can typically consolidate them into 4 different categories. Again, as the topic says, we are going to keep an SAP customer in mind because, most of our customers, they run SAP ERP. Doesn't mean, they don't run like Microsoft or AWS for their data lakes, but most of our customers, that's a common element. So a lot of these will have an SAP tone to it. So if you look at their current state, they want to take some tactical decisions, but then they want to align with, where they want to go in terms of feature. So I have classified, and since this is a lead slide, I will be spending some time to explain some of the challenges. Customers are, having a dilemma: is data lakes is the future? If so, what kind of data lake I should be doing? Is data warehouse is still the future? We have so many different tools. How do I pick the best? Do I keep upgrading my current systems, or should I just completely re-platform into the cloud? What about advanced analytics and big data platforms? And then there is a constant tussle: do I go public cloud, private cloud, or cluster? These are more like tactical challenges that they are having. But all of those questions have a common element. They want to get to a future vision state. When we look at all our customers, most of our customers, they see that cloud is the future. We at Visual BI, we think 2025 is when pretty much maybe 15 years back, most of us were very hesitant about online shopping. We were just stepping foot. But if you look at it in 10 years out today, there isn't anybody who doesn't do online shopping. The same way, cloud is evolving rapidly, and we think in another 5 years, because we are already in the midway in the cloud journey, we think everybody is going to think cloud first for all their future deployments. And then comes the cloud choices. Do I go to Amazon? Do I go to Azure? Do I go to Google? There are a lot of choices. Do I host? And then there is a common element where we see customers in their dream state or the future state. A customer should be able to bring their own device, or the business user can bring their own device. When I mean by the device, it could be a smartphone, it could be a laptop, it could be a desktop. And then also on the tool, especially around the front end side of the tools, they don't want to be constrained to which tool they could use. They want not just self-service, they want to be able to bring their own tool to be able to consume the enterprise data. The same thing, they don't want to differentiate between structured data and unstructured data. So that is the primary reason for the evolution of data warehouses to data lakes. If we move to a tool-specific challenges, from a strategic challenges to a tool-specific challenges, there are some burning questions like, is BW really dead? Is S4 is going to kill the embedded analytics? Is it going to kill BW? We heard it, maybe HANA, when HANA came out 7 years back, people thought, oh, BW is dead. BW is still alive. Everybody knows that. But there is always this constant doubt in customers' mind. And the same thing, SAP has come out with B4 HANA. We will be talking about it. But there is still a doubt. Should I go to B4 HANA? Should I go to Azure, or, typical cloud-based data lake solution or Hadoop-based data lake solution? And then there is confusion about ETL tools. For the purpose of this webinar, we will look at some of the evolution of ETL tools within the SAP landscape. And then SAP made a huge push around HANA Enterprise, HANA Sidecar over the last 5 years, but you will see slowly that is transforming into SAP Cloud Platform. Which one is better? We will be talking about it. And then on the front end, there are a lot more questions, but at the at the at a broader level, there are some doubts about SAP Business Objects. Is it a platform going to be the platform of choice 10 years from now? Is Lumira dead? What about Fiori apps? How good is Analytics Cloud? How does SAP tools compare to Power BI or Tableau, even for that matter, ClickView and Spotfire? So we will be doing a mini version of our self-service BI at the end of this webinar. So as we go through the webinar, this is going to be a constant tussle where organizations are having to be able to challenge to do a proper comparison, because the IT architects and managers, the evaluation of tools primarily revolve around very enterprise and global in the thought process. In terms of architecture, they typically like to use live connections to their data warehouses and data lakes. Data governance and security is extremely important to them, and they want to make sure they are providing very cleansed data to the business. But when we look at from the business requirements perspective, they want agility. They want to make sure they have the best solution for their department or something that is even for their locale. They want self-service. So they don't really care about whether it is live data. If acquired data enables them easier discovery, they want to go with it. So you can see the requirements itself are so diverging. So how do you come up with a strategy? The other challenge organizations are facing are, every organization have thousands of employees, but then you have a lot of self-service BI seekers, and then you have a lot of enterprise audience that like an executive or a manager who are mere consumers of these reports and dashboards and analytics. And they make 80% of them, but then the 20% of the analysts who are constantly clamoring for data and tools, they end up forming a big backbone of the BI strategy. But you have a lot of different personas in an organization, so that the organizations are challenged to find out which tool. That translates into a problem today where most organizations, because of the last 20 years, they have multiple data warehouses, they have multiple data lakes, they have multiple BI visualization tools. And they are fighting the battle on both fronts. They are challenged to, okay, do I consolidate into one data lake or one data warehouse, or do I consolidate into one tool? I would almost say they are not able to take a decision which one they should tackle first. And I think that's causing kind of an analysis paralysis situation at a lot of the customers that we see today. The other big challenge we face with a lot of customers that we see as a very common place is it's very, very hard to nail down the requirement, because the terminologies used across customers, they diverge quite a bit. They may want a simple report, but the business may say it's a scorecard. So there is a huge differentiation between, do they really want a storyboard? Do they want a dashboard? Do they want an application with the workflow? So because they don't understand what they really want and they are able to clearly lay it out, it is causing a lot of frustration. Are they really looking for a self-service tool? Are they really looking for an end solution? And a lot of times what is happening is they end up simply looking at a research report and then making a decision, but they don't not necessarily map it to the actual requirement. What is the requirement and what is the persona type? So what we have done is we have just tried to, the common challenges, please understand the differentiation between storyboards, reports, dashboards, and application. And that will go a long way to find out, which tool is going to work best for every organization. So from the common challenges, I'm going to really delve deeper into the typical EDW challenges faced by the organization and I wanted to touch on how the paths have evolved. If you go to any organization, we all, every SAP customer, they started with a typical operational analytics. All they had was an ABAP reports 20 years back. And as the newer BI tools started coming, organizations were doing table dumps and Excel reports. They were feeding into Cognos, or they were feeding into MicroStrategy, or they were feeding into Spotfire or something like that. And then SAP came out with HANA, and they heavily pushed HANA Live. If you look at 7-8 years back, you put ECC on HANA, and then you can do HANA Live. And then SAP launched S4, and then they were heavily pushing Fiori applications. And then SAP said, I'm going to put BW inside S4, and then I'm going to provide an embedded BW and BPC inside S4, and then S4 Cloud is coming. So these are some of how the operational analytics and the platform is evolving. And if we come down to the BW world, we had a traditional BW, then BWA came, then BW on HANA came. Now you have SAP B4HANA is here, and now SAP B4HANA Cloud is going to come out. So you can see on both sides it's evolving. And there are customers that have gone with, they thought BW was dead, and guess what? They went with an HANA sidecar, and they try to retire BW. And now SAP has said, SAP HANA Cloud Platform is the future. So you could see, and there are customers that got frustrated with a lot of diverging paths, so they got confused, and then they said, we are going to extract data from ECC, and we are going to do a custom data warehouse in an Oracle or SQL Server. And now what has happened is, a lot of customers feel, it's an on-premise solution. We need to go to cloud and data lake and unstructured data. So there is a new trend of, okay, let's go to data lake. Let's move those data again from a custom data warehouse to an AWS or an Azure data warehouse. So you can see, it doesn't matter what path you took in the last 10 years, it has been an evolution. It has been rapidly evolving in the SAP space at the same way it has been, even if you went on a non-SAP tangent. But one thing is common in all of them is that they all are moving towards a cloud-based platform. A lot of them are moving towards more in-memory, more performance-oriented solution. But what is common is, if you really take a closer look at it, there is still a differentiation between OLTP and OLAP, and we will talk about it, because when we talk about is S4 going to kill BW, that is very important to keep in mind. Let's start with BW. I myself have spent a lot of my career as a BW developer, and a lot of our Visual BI employees have a SAP BW background, and we have been hearing that BW is dead for pretty much since Visual BI started, as soon as when HANA came out. But if you look at it, BW has had most of the innovation. Surprisingly, you will see BW, you had BW 7.0, 7.3, 7.4, and then at 7.5 on HANA, BW became more of a legacy mode. And SAP said, the traditional BW on HANA, even though it is on HANA, it's not really optimized for cloud. It's not really optimized for unstructured data. We got to re-platform it to fully use the power of HANA. They said, we are going to, just like you have S4 on the ECC side, they released B4HANA and then BPC on HANA. Before I go further, the biggest frustration the customers are facing is, let's say you are BW on HANA today, they think they can upgrade to B4HANA. But I wanted to caution you, B4HANA is a separate licensing, because it's completely a new solution. Just like you have to license S4, you license HANA database separately, and then you license S4 application separately. Same thing, B4 application, which is a new solution, you have to license separately. I think that is a key takeaway for customers. Now, if we look back into why would a customer even look at B4HANA, or why would a customer even go out of BW, the biggest frustration that has cropped up with a lot of the customers is the SAP BW uses BICS connectivity for its own business objects tool sets, whereas if you go out and want to use something else, like say IBI Web Focus or Tableau or Power BI or any other tool, it uses the the traditional MDX connectivity. So they don't have access to the BW security, they don't have access to the kind of the OLAP performance that BW and the hierarchies and a lot of the stuff. So there is a clear demarcation between the user experience in an SAP BI tool versus a non-SAP tool. So a lot of customers have been, maybe BW was little, more rigid in terms of development. So there has always been a thing, okay, we got to move away from BW. And, it started off with the BW on HANA. BW on HANA came out about 6 years back. And, we were one of the early adopters to get customers that moved to a BW on HANA landscape simply for performance reasons, but also it gave a way to leverage some of the ways where you can create HANA views and consume HANA views to open up for maybe Tableau or Spotfire. So you would see a lot of customers adopt this approach to be able to open up for other tools. But primarily, BW has evolved to a BW on HANA as a next generation evolution of BWA. Now, this is where B4 HANA gets very, very interesting for a lot of customers. Is one of the things that SAP has addressed is, they made sure it has a modern interface. They removed some of the rigidity and made it simple to develop. The other thing is, because it is HANA optimized models, they have a better overall performance compared to traditional BW. But the most important one that everybody should pay attention to, how open B4 HANA is compared to a traditional BW. It provides a native SQL access to all the other SAP tool or not SAP tool. Assuming the future is going to be bring you your own device and bring you your own tool, that's where B4 HANA will end up playing a huge role in it. So this is just a higher level comparison of, okay, I'm already on B4 HANA or a BW on HANA. Why do I have to go for B4 HANA? Because I'm already on HANA, I'm getting good performance. These are some of the higher level concerns, but most important from a strategic point is BW 7.5 on HANA is actually the last release of BW on HANA, which means BW on 7.5 is not going to get continuously innovated. So SAP is investing on making B4 HANA as the next generation EDW solution. So you want to kind of weigh in. Today, there may not appear to be much differences between BW 7.5 on HANA and B4 HANA, but within the next 2 years, when you look at the B4 HANA roadmap, there will be quite a bit of divergence. So you will end up thinking, just like you are thinking of S4, you will think of going to B4 as well. And a lot of customers have been asking, we have heavily invested into data lake solution. Why do I need to keep BW? I think one of the things to keep in mind is B4 HANA is cloud ready, and it also has a very good interface with using HANA Ora or Spark or HDFS. It does have a good integration mechanism between SAP data, non-SAP data, structured data, unstructured data. It is a futuristic platform. And when you combine it with Data Hub and the ODP extraction on ODQ, so you will see it can serve as in conjunction with your data lakes. So all you have to do is maybe deploy your B4 HANA in Azure or AWS, wherever you have. It would be able to seamlessly integrate with your data lakes. And that's basically what we see as customers wanting to hear, and that this is a viable solution for all of you. Now, coming down to S4, the reason I wanted to touch on B4 and then come to S4 is a lot of the customers have been hearing that, oh, BW is dead, no need to, one of the biggest use case for S4 investment is that you can retire BW. But if you look at it and the higher level architecture and a lot of that stuff is, you will end up using a lot of your BW investments as well as your business objects investments as well as your analytics cloud investments, because the S4 embedded analytics is, think of it as a much significant improvement over a nicer UI over your ABAP reports. Now, because ECC or S4 is on HANA, you get a much better performance on your ABAP reports with a much nicer interface in terms of your Fiori apps or some of these things. But that still takes care of only your OLTP operational reporting. The moment you say, I want to move from operational reporting, I want to go to strategic analytics, it suddenly evolves into the need of, I have to merge with other data. I have to take data from sales and merge with finance and do complex modeling. The S4 reporting scenario somewhat falls apart. And there are a lot of, even SAP themselves do not recommend using S4 HANA as an embedded EDW. The embedded BW, embedded BPC are there just to provide more advanced real-time planning capability or some operational analytics capability. It is not designed as a replacement to your BW or your OLAP reporting scenarios. And I want customers to keep in mind is that the BW and the BPC that comes with S4, it's not that it's going to get continuously innovated. You have like a base system, whereas in a B4 you have a continuous roadmap. You can probably upgrade and patch it a lot more frequently than you would do on an ECC transactional system. And you need to think about HANA licensing, how the data tiering works. B4 HANA takes care of the data tiering very well, hot, warm, cold, so you can really save on how much of data you want to keep it in HANA and pay for the HANA licenses, which is how much of them you want to push it to Sybase IQ. And the security models that you may want to have or something what you have in ECC may be completely different in how you want to do for a reporting scenario. So there are a lot of different reasons why SAP fundamentally said we have a need to basically have S4 and then B4 so that we can satisfy the organizational analytical need, both from an operational standpoint and from a historical strategic standpoint. All we say is, we have this slide. If you look at SAP's vision, is that S4 and B4 will coexist so that they can provide a full 360 picture of analytics. So we have kind of given you a little simple comparison to get an idea of when to use S4 and when to use B4, why they are there. But please ask a question, why is SAP investing in B4 if S4 is going to eliminate BW? B4 is like an evolution of BW. So I just want you to keep those in mind and ask some intelligent questions when you do strategic evaluations. So this is a case study that I wanted to share with you. One of our customers in Canada, an early adopter to S4 and B4, they also thought, S4 could do a lot of that. They went with embedded BW, but, very fast they realized they have to bring non-SAP data. They have to, do much more analytical capability than what is offered. So they ended up being an early adopter to B4 also. They are successfully live today. But I wanted to kind of give you this example that if you see most of the S4 customers, they will also be running B4. So the key message is, both S4 and B4 will exist in coexistence in future. So that is the most important thing that you want to keep in mind. We put together this slide just so that you can see, BW has its own 3 different flavors. Now you have S4, and then we will be talking about HANA Enterprise and S4 SAP Cloud Platform. But the whole idea is you can see there are a lot of options, but you wanted to get an idea or where you are. Are you a laggard or you are an early adopter, so you can take an appropriate decision. Coming down to the shift in the cloud, I think this will touch on the data warehouse versus data lakes. And I think it has to do a lot to do with the amount of data that customers want to capture today. It is shifting from, structured data to, I want to capture my market share data. I want to do some, social media data, clickstream data, IoT data, all of them. And I want to be able to analyze, monetize. The other thing is, as more and more agility and self-service is being demanded by the business, there is a trend to move from, ETL-based approach to an ELT-based approach where you just extract and load. and then you transform or let the business transform using data preparation in the self-service BI tools. So that's the primary driver, and cloud is a big enabler because cloud data storage and the cloud extractions are a lot simpler and self-service than in a typical on-premise world. The other big challenges customers have been constantly having is they have typical on-premise. They are a bit confused about, do I go to public cloud, go to private cloud, or should I simply go do hosting? I think it is extremely important to understand the pros and cons of each one of them. Just to give you an idea, you can just get, simply go to an Amazon AWS or Google Cloud Platform or Microsoft Azure. Or you can go to an SAP HANA Enterprise Cloud, which is more like your own private cloud. Or you can go to SAP Cloud Platform, which is more like a public platform as a service. Or you can completely get a software as a service, like a solution like Ariba, SuccessFactors, Analytics Cloud, or Salesforce. They are all your typical SaaS application where you get everything: license, software, hosting, everything. This is like a full-blown. You just pay one price per month, you get everything. So understanding the differences is extremely important to shift to the cloud. Now, when you are shifting to the cloud, the huge question comes in, what data integration tool I use. Can I use just, my business objects data services that I own today, or should I use my SLT that I got it with my HANA Enterprise, or should I use SDI that SAP is now recommending for, and then your CPIDS. Now, one of the things is, if you notice, is the world is moving towards serverless software, serverless solution. So you can see, as you go from a bot solution to SDI, the server needs it's much lighter footprint, but it can much lean, and it can still be more cloud friendly in terms of ability to provide APIs and everything. So it's somewhat very important, and we will touch on a little bit on Data Hub, but this is extremely important to understand. Even on ETL, you will see an evolution. So the evolution is not particular to SAP or particular to BW. It's across all the solutions. The same thing applies to HANA Enterprise. A lot of customers have invested heavily into SAP, HANA on-premise, HANA Enterprise, Sidecar, EDW. But what we see is a lot of those customers, they think, if they had gone with an SAP HANA Cloud Platform, they did the same HANA models and everything. It gives them, much more ability to scale. They don't have to worry, okay, I got a 1 terabyte HANA box. Now I have to buy another hardware. You get out of all of those solutions. And I wanted to bring one of our customer case study where, KMG Chemicals, they were an early adopter to the HANA enterprise data warehouses in the cloud. So we help them set up in SAP Cloud Platform. So, they have their entire ECC data warehouse, replicated into HANA Cloud Platform and Analytics Cloud. And you can see pretty much what you can achieve with BW has been achieved with HANA in the cloud. And this is the customer, very successful case study. So you can see a lot of the greenfield customers, especially they didn't have any investments into BW or business objects. So it was a lot easier for us to, recommend SAP Cloud Platform and SAP Analytics Cloud, and go live in a much agile and faster manner. And we see this trend quite a bit with a lot of our new customers, that don't have a lot of on-premise investment. They think cloud first, and we recommend SAP Cloud Platform to them. Now, we also have customers, where they have taken a decision where they have a lot of non-SAP data, and we say them, loading them into Microsoft Azure and using Power BI. We see this trend a lot as well. And we do that quite a bit to a lot of the customers. So one of the key differentiator is, is your origin data is in an SAP world? Does it have SAP standard extractors, or is it something that is completely a non-SAP data? you already have either an AWS presence or an Azure footprint, or even a big enterprise license with Microsoft, you can go this path. There is no right or wrong. Each of them have their own pros and cons. But from a strategy standpoint, you have to ask what percentage of data you have, originating from SAP and non-SAP. So we see this divergence across the customers, and we can help make that strategy what is better for you. Coming down to the SAP BI portfolio, this is like we are shifting slowly from the back end to the front end. There is a lot of talk, since SAP made an announcement that they are going to focus principally in Analytics Cloud for the data discovery use cases. There has been a lot of confusion if Lumira was dead. I think customers have to pay a close attention to the SAP roadmap and strategy. And if you look at it very closely, SAP still recommending Lumira for their on-premise customers, especially the Design Studio, which got renamed as Lumira Designer. And I don't think so customers should get confused. If you look at it, this is an official SAP roadmap slide. And the Lumira Designer is still the core and center of SAP's for dashboards and analytics apps use cases. I think that's the very important message I will give you. Rather than think Lumira is dead, think Lumira Discovery is maybe in support mode, but Lumira Designer will always be the go-forward solution as long as you have your on-premise BW and on-premise HANA solution, because it integrates very well. It provides very robust applications. We talked about, storyboards and dashboards and reports. So since it leverages your existing business objects platform, it's continued to be central to the SAP strategy. And I request customers to pay more attention to the SAP's official printed documents rather than just get confused about, hey, Analytics Cloud is the future, and then forget about the rest of the business objects tools perspective. The main reason for that is, if you are an on-premise business objects customer that is currently having an on-premise business object, it's going to be supported for probably another 10 years with the business objects 4.3 release recently. I think SAP made that reassurance at TechEd as well, that Lumira Designer has no changes whatsoever in the roadmap. Only discovery, those use cases got moved to the cloud. So mainly don't get confused. The other big question mark is, when do I use Discovery? When do I use Designer? What about the interoperability that SAP is talking about? SAP Lumira Discovery, if you used in conjunction with Designer, Designer is a very, very good IT tool for visualizing, exploring, and sharing. But there are cases where business say, I really need self-service. I'm not able to bring my own data to be able to do merging. You can continue to use Lumira Discovery and then use Designer from our interoperable mode. So just to give you an idea, we are going to talk about Analytics Cloud, and from a self-service BI data discovery perspective, and then we will do a comparison to on-premise BI and to SAC, so to kind of give you an idea. SAP has basically is making a major investment and rapidly innovating around the SAP Analytics Cloud platform. And the strategy has been, let's provide one BI platform and one tool for all the in a self-service manner, and provide all the different use cases like planning, predictive, even app design is going to be out by the end of the year, and a lot of different self-service use cases. And that's more like in a public cloud, the way the customers want to buy. There are some innovative solutions like, the SAP Digital Boardroom. But one question that constantly came is, I still have my Webby, I still have my analysis for Office, I still have my Design Studio application. So SAP has an Analytics Hub as a kind of a bridge between Analytics Cloud and your traditional on-premise business objects datasets. The other thing that customers have to keep in mind is, they can buy them at a user level. It's not, it's a simple, you can even buy a 10 user license. We are just giving you what each of them, and kind of tiptoe into Analytics Cloud, because that is going to be the future in terms of data discovery. One of the use cases we see with a lot of customers, how they get introduced to Analytics Cloud and what becomes a use case to go to Analytics Cloud is it really has good connectors for SAP Cloud data sources. That's the very key thing. If you are like SuccessFactors, Fieldglass, Concur, a lot of the SAP's, Ariba, a lot of them, it has a very, very good connector to SAC. It has very good connector to S4 HANA, good connector to B4 HANA. So especially if you are a bleeding edge or a cutting edge customer that is already cloud, only cloud, it's something that is it gives you a good reason to adopt Analytics Cloud. I touched on S4, and you can see, SAP is continuing to, even though they have Fiori apps, the recommended solution, even for an S4, more from a strategic analytics, you use SAP Analytics Cloud in conjunction with S4 HANA. And the impressive thing is, the very frequent release, more like in a Power BI mode, Analytics Cloud is maturing, and it has a robust roadmap, something to keep in mind. And a lot of the customers have been asking about, SAP is coming out with application design. Yes, they are, but it's right now in a beta stage, and it should be publicly available maybe in Q4 or early Q1. But you can see it's more like a Design Studio 1.1 in the cloud. And a lot of the Design Studio skill sets or Lumira designer skill sets you got, it will be, that's what I think, but more in a where IT can actually build and enhance your Analytics Cloud stories. Something to watch out for. And but that comes down to, okay, how do I compare to my on-premise options to my cloud options? So we just put together, again, don't it's not to sway you one over the other, but if you can think, Lumira discovery clearly is not going to be innovated further, but it will be supported in maintenance as long as you are current on your business objects maintenance. But Analytics Cloud, if you are from a data discovery perspective, it has a very strong roadmap, and I would almost say it's close to Lumira discovery or getting on par, except on the data preparation side. But it has a lot of the other features like planning, predictive, and better connectivity to a lot of SAP's cloud applications. From a Lumira designer perspective, it's somewhat very, very hard to compare, but customers still keep asking us to compare. So for the sake of that, we have done. Lumira designer is about a 6-year-old, very, very mature product. A lot of enterprise customers use it, and we continue to get 3 or 4 customers every month for our VBX product. So it is still used even every month. Even in September, August, we have been seeing a lot of large global customers that have big on-premise BW continue to use Lumira designer. The only big drawback to that is it doesn't have good connectivity outside of BW and HANA. And the biggest drawback is, IT developer will have to build those applications, and the business would consume. Now, whereas if you come to the Analytics Cloud app design, it has very good connectivity to cloud applications like SuccessFactors and all that. And it has a very strong roadmap. But if you have to compare today, it's still very immature and beta. Even SAP is saying, think of it like how Design Studio 1.0 was there, a few years back. So it's something to keep in mind. But maybe in 2 to 3 years' time, maybe they will get it on par with Lumira Designer. So it just becomes, do you have an existing business objects, or do you want to be a cloud-first customer? So those are some of the strategic things that you will have to answer. We just put together a little flow chart, and if you want to, how do you take a decision to go to the cloud? I think it just simply boils down to whether today you have an existing investment in business objects or not. Only if you have them, then you can probably take some time and tiptoe into Analytics Cloud. But if you don't have, it's fairly easy to make the evaluation. And coming down to the last section, since I want to allocate some time for questions, it's a summarized version of our webinar and kind of provided a little bit of an update for all of you. We have touched on this before, and I will reiterate, it's not easy to compare the tools. The tools are, some tools are very strong in visualization, some tools are very strong in advanced analytics, some tools are very strong in data preparation. You have to take everything into account. And what is the user persona that we touched on, what kind of content they are trying to build, all of that play a big role in an evaluation. From simply a data connectivity perspective, all of these tools are fairly comparable, but when you focus on SAP as a data source, it gets, you will see a typical SAP tools is going to have an edge because of the native connectivity to SAP sources. But doesn't mean the rest of the tools are far behind. They're probably going to have some limitations in connectivity, but it's not that you can consume it and then use it in an acquired mode. The modeling the data is where you will start to see a lot of divergence, where you will see with the addition of Tableau data prep, they've gotten on par with Power BI in terms of modeling the data and data prep. And this is one area right now Analytics Cloud is lagging, but I think by the end of the year there is a release where they have said there is going to be significant improvement in terms of Analytics Cloud data preparation capability. From a visualization standpoint, again, Webby is not a visualization tool, but if you take Webby out of the picture, there is not really much to they're all comparable. There is not one significantly superior over the other. Coming down to the basic features, the same way, Tableau and Power BI and Spotfire ranks very, very highly on, sharing, and you will see Tableau and Power BI and Spotfire leading in this segment. And when we come to the IT-driven enterprise functionality, you may be surprised that we have ranked some of the SAP tools like, Webby and Lumira higher. The simply reason is it has an advantage of, 25 years of business objects, the platform. So a lot of the strength it inherits from the business being a tool on business objects platform. And Microsoft Power BI has its advantage because it's significant advantage with an Office 365 environment and more of an enterprise tool. Along the same line, we have made the similar assessment. Same thing on mobile, clearly Power BI and Spotfire are, way ahead of the pack in terms of, bring your own tool and the responsive design and everything. And when we switch to an advanced analytics, we will see SAP Analytics Cloud slowly winning this category over time, and you will see the divergence where SAP is more heavily pushing, smart analytics, smart insights. So they are going to push heavy on the planning, the predictive, and a lot of those capabilities bringing into Analytics Cloud. But that doesn't mean Spotfire and Tableau are behind. They are, it's going to be a divergence in terms of how the tool differentiates itself. So when we put it all together, every tool has its own way of, standing on its ground. So it's almost like, you pick the tool for what, it's very hard to pick one tool for the organization. That's what we are trying to find out. We just have to see what is your data warehouse, what kind of ecosystem do you have, and what kind of, the business user types you have. All of those play a huge role in it. So what we wanted to kind of give you a higher level idea of where all the tools stand. But one of the things that we find is Microsoft Power BI is actually becoming very, very almost ubiquitous in all our customers through the simply because it ranks good or excellent in most of the categories. And Tableau is not too far behind. And Spotfire and Click, I think, although they have very, very passionate user community, I think their adoption rates, I mean, I don't have any idea, but when we see it just within our customer base, the Spotfire customers we have, they are still remaining loyal to them, but we just don't see a lot of new customers within our customer base. So it's not to say they are inferior in any way. You can see there is hardly, they all stand on its own merit. But what we see in a market trend perspective within our customer base, the adoption of Power BI and Tableau has been, constantly growing, and Power BI is the one seems to be winning, at least in terms of perception, in terms of ease of use and all that. And Tableau remains the most allowed and flexible. And we are going to do a very comprehensive evaluation probably by the end of the year, when all the tools have had one rounds of updates, because right now Analytics Cloud and Power BI are doing a lot of frequent updates compared to the rest of the tools. So you will see an update, but this is like a state of the union as of like today, to give you an idea. And we also kind of put together a little decision matrix, depending on how do you take a decision, user profile, sharing, mobile, and a lot of that, to make it things easier for you to decipher and strategize. And what I wanted to do before I go to the questions is, Visual BI has thrived with our products, and we have Visual BI extensions for Lumira has been a market roaring success. We have more than 100 customers. It is the number one reviewed and ranked in the SAP App Center for Analytics category. And what we as a company are doing is, we are investing. We see the trend with Power BI. We are investing in Power BI extensions, and you will see that coming out, maybe in Q1 of 2019, like a Power BI extension suite for customers. We have made massive investments with VBI View, because we see that most of the customers have multiple BI tools, and I don't think so. It's very hard to say this one is superior. Just go with one tool. Every vendor would obviously dream of owning the customer and being that only sole tool, but change management is hard, and every department is in love with either Tableau or Spotfire or Click, and it's very hard for SAP or Power BI to completely displace all of those tools. So we think from a market, a customer is going to have 2 or 3 tools depending on their business preferences and the organizational preferences. And I wanted to touch on our value driver tree. And if you look at it, today organizations don't have a very good way to dynamically plan and visually plan and do, have a better reduced agile planning cycles. So we have this tool, and we are going to be doing a webinar as our next webinar, and I would like to invite you all to, see, because it is completely a very exciting solution, a new solution. If you are a BW customer or a BPC customer, or you are frustrated with not able to visualize your, multiple versions of budgets and forecasts to be able to compare scenarios, I would like you to join this webinar and to take a look at it, this solution. And I'm going to go down and take some questions. We have about 5 minutes, but I will try my best to take some questions. So one of the questions was, if the customer is using HANA as a sidecar, and next year they are going to go to Suite on HANA. I don't understand if it is Suite on HANA or S4 is the right move. Can you suggest a better option? Like we touched on, the Suite on HANA or S4, use them only for operational analytics. It is not going to replace your HANA data warehouse or your BW data warehouse as an analytics. So they are supposed to coexist, and in conjunction, that's the SAP's official strategy and roadmap. If you try to just stick to S4 HANA, and I have customers trying to customize their HANA views and everything, CDS views within S4 HANA, but the problem is you're going to run into challenges every time you do the upgrades and everything. So keep your operational analytics or the customization within S4 and S4 to just to 20% of your analytics use cases. That's SAP's recommendation as well. Yeah, there was a question on B4 HANA as a separate license. Yes. So even though the customer is currently on BW 7.3 on HANA or 7.5 on HANA, you can use the HANA database license that you have with BW 7.3, but the B4 HANA, the application layer, because it's a separate new application layer, you'll have to buy them, and the licensing is separate. Just think of it like how you buy your S4 HANA licenses. So you buy the database licenses, which is HANA license, and then the B4, which is a new generation product. So SAP says it's not an evolution of BW, but a next generation evolution of BW. So it's a separate license. So the question is, has B4 HANA directly killed native HANA? I wouldn't say B4 HANA has killed native HANA. I think the native HANA customers are opting to go to cloud. It's more like cloud is killing native HANA. The native HANA typically has been like HANA Enterprise in an on-premise hardware. All those customers are going to a public HANA cloud, which is because the cost is shared. They don't have to buy the hardware. So the SAP HANA cloud platform has mostly killed native HANA. B4 HANA hasn't killed anything, but it is more of a true enterprise data warehouse solution. Even if you are going native HANA, it has been challenging for doing inventory or HR, like a lot of time dependency, because it didn't use a lot of the SAP extractors. So customers were a little bit frustrated with native HANA, although it did a lot of the scenarios very well. There were scenarios like in inventory reporting where BW was a superior solution, or HR reporting with complex security, BW was a superior solution. So that is one of the reasons SAP decided to keep investing in B4 and come out with B4, where they took the best of BW, they took the best of native HANA and provided a solution, and then that can be cloud ready in future. Is it the writing on the wall that SAC has application design component as well? I wouldn't say. If you look at every BI product or every tool, ECC, S4, or all of them, I think SAP is going to have a solution in on-premise and a solution in cloud. I think the way you have to look at it is, even if SAP application design is coming out, I think it is those customers that want to be cloud first. It is a solution for them. Where they have a lot of cloud-based application, it is a solution for them. As long as you are running business objects, or as long as you are running on-premise BW, I think the Lumira designer, and it will always have the use case. So when you think of retiring, the need to displace will arise. Can we give Lumira designer to business power users who complains on discovery shortfall? Absolutely. If you look at the latest Lumira 2.2 release, SAP has actually given a lot of self-service capability inside designer at runtime, and then obviously we offer Visual BI extension to give a lot more features and functionality, and reduce scripting and better formatting capability. So in combination of Lumira designer and Visual BI extension, which is what a lot of our 100+ customers have been doing, to give more power to power users to kind of do complex dashboards and applications. I think it's not fair as an SAP partner and a Microsoft partner to compare Power BI to SAC in an objective way. But what we will tell you is, I think you can take a closer look at our evaluation, and then take a because one, like I said, one is not a replacement. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. It all depends on how much of your data is in your traditional SAP versus the proportion. All of that play a big role in whether the customers are going to Power BI or SAC, but it's more of an evaluation, and we help customers do those evaluations for you based on how much of presence of SAP data, non-SAP data, all that you have. Now, in the essence of time, I wanted to wrap up the Q&A. There are still a lot more questions. I will be taking those questions and sending them the response by email. But I wanted to thank each one of you for staying in again for the webinar, and we will get back to you with the presentation, recording, and some of the Q&A questions as well. Thank you.